everyone, my name is Paul and this is a 2007 Subaru Impreza. It has the 2.5 liter non-turbo engine, but it's no rally car. This thing is way too low. Today I'm installing new struts and lift springs in this car. Let's start with some measurements before the lift. The front fender sits 27 inches above the ground and the back is just 26 inches. This Subaru has a saggy butt and the ground clearance to the exhaust is just 5.5 inches. That's not very much. The front plastic doesn't scrape in the parking lot test, but it comes very close. I like to use a wooden block to spread out the load and prevent the soft unibody from getting bent. I placed the jack stands on the engine subframe near the lower control arm mounts. I lifted the back of the car by the control arm mounts and placed the rear subframe on the jack stands. Always lift by the strongest parts of the car. Let's replace the front struts first. Get the wheel out of the way, then take the bolts out for the ABS wire and brake hose. There are two big bolts holding the strut and spindle together. The upper bolt also adjusts camber. I'll gently push the bolts out with a sledgehammer. Rocking the spindle back and forth helps a lot to take it apart. Mark the front of the strut mount, then remove the 3 mounting nuts. Now the strut will drop down. Move the ABS wire out of the way and take the strut out of the car. I'm using cheap spring compressors from the auto parts store. You should tighten these spring clamps by hand only. Don't use an impact wrench because you can't feel how much torque you're applying. The clamps can slip off and suddenly release all the spring pressure. I'm cheating a bit and using a drill. Don't be like me. It's safer than an impact because you can feel how hard it's twisting and you can use the clutch to limit the torque. Now that I have the spring compressed a scary amount, I want to make sure there is no tension against the top of the strut. Pull the bellows down and clamp the shaft with vice grips. Remove the top nut with a 17mm socket. This is the dangerous part of the procedure. If those spring clamps let go, the spring will shoot straight up and destroy everything in its path. Don't place any part of your body above the strut. With the strut top off, gently take the tension off the springs by loosening both spring clamps evenly. Now I can take the spring off the strut. This is the bellows, and the yellow thing is a bump stop. You can get new struts at any auto parts store, but CarID.com has much better prices. This car is 13 years old with 160,000 miles. The springs are dead. I'm installing new lift springs instead. Install the spring compressors across from each other and make sure you lock in the safety pins. Pay close attention to the compressors and stop if they look like they're going to slip. Remember, the springs are very dangerous right now. Don't lean over the top of the strut. Now let's install the spring mount and top cap. I can't fully tighten the nut with just a socket. I can insert a 5mm Allen key into the top of the strut and hold the nut with vice grips. I won't be able to get the nut tight enough right now, but at least I can thread it all the way on. Gently loosen the spring compressors. Do a little bit at a time to keep the spring straight. Make sure the spring seats into the upper spring mount. The top cap has a lot of pressure on it now, so the shaft won't spin on the strut. Now I can torque the top nut. The strut is ready to go back in the car. Tighten the 3 top nuts to 14.5 foot-pounds. No, I didn't use a torque wrench, because I'm a man, damn it. Install the big bolts into the bottom of the strut. The camber adjuster bolt goes on top. Notice when you turn this bolt, the top of the spindle moves in and out. Don't try to adjust camber right now because you can't measure it. You'll have to take the car to the shop for an alignment. Torque the big bolts to 129 foot-pounds. The front is done, so let's get the back seat out of the car. Pull the cushion straight up, then towards the front of the car. The seat back has 4 bolts holding it in place. Pull the seat back straight up to release the top clips. Get the seat belts out of the way, and the seat back is ready to come out. Instead of cleaning your car, you can just use air fresheners. This car had 20 of them jammed behind the seat. Use an impact wrench to loosen the big bolts at the bottom of the strut. It looks like the lower bolt is stuck. I used a breaker bar with a jack handle to loosen it up. Okay, now it's starting to behave. This car was missing the brake hose clip. I'll need to hammer these bolts out. I'm installing the nut so I don't damage the threads. Just think about someone you hate and hit the bolt really hard. I'm using a punch to push it out. The lower bolt is even more stuck and the brake is in the way, so I'm using a 3/8 drive extension to push the bolt. The pry bar can help a little too. Finally, I got the bolt out. That sucked. The rear seat belt is in the way, so let's move it a little. Now I can remove the 3 strut mount nuts. Get the metal cover out of the way. The strut will drop straight down. Set up the spring compressors across from each other with the clamps as far apart vertically as possible. Compress the spring until it's no longer touching the top spring mount. Clamp the shaft with vice grips and loosen the top nut with an impact wrench. It looks like the rust ate the top nut and I can't unscrew it. I tried the Sawzall, but the metal blade won't cut the strut shaft. I'm cutting the spring above the clamps. This is extremely dangerous, folks. Don't try this at home. Now I can loosen the compressed part of the spring. Do it evenly so the clamps don't slip off. When things don't go my way, I just destroy everything with power tools. Alright, there isn't much left of the spring, so let's go ahead and use vice grips to hold the bellows out of the way. Okay, and now you know how to completely destroy a strut. I bought a new strut mount from Autozone, but I can still reuse the bellows and bump stop. I actually bought new ones from the store, but they didn't fit right. The original parts are better. Take the rubber spring pad from the old strut, then set the new spring on it. Let's get the compressors out again and gently squeeze the spring down. Remember not to lean over the top of the strut. You don't want to end up like our stick figure friend here. Install the bump stop, then the new strut mount. I'm using a 5mm Allen key and vice grips to tighten the top nut. You can't torque it with these tools, but I just want to get the nut threaded all the way on right now. Pay attention to the top and bottom of the spring as you loosen the clamps. You can't reposition it after you take the clamps off. Okay, the spring clamps are off and everyone is still alive except for our stick figure friend. Rest in peace, buddy. We learned a lot from your mistakes. With the strut assembled, the top nut won't spin and we can torque it to 41 foot-pounds. Now the strut is ready to go back in the car. Don't forget to reinstall the metal strut cover, then put the nuts back on. Tighten the nuts to 14.5 foot-pounds. Remember to reinstall the seat belt bolt. I damaged the threads on the lower bolt while removing it, so I stopped by the local Subaru dealer and got a new bolt. You can also buy them online. You can use the hammer a little bit to install strut bolts, but be careful, you can damage them. I'm tightening the nuts with an impact driver, but I will torque them by hand later. You can get brake hose clips at your local auto parts store. The rear strut bolts get tightened to 162 foot-pounds. Now the struts are done, so let's put the seat back in. Route the seat belts in front of the seat, then make sure all the tabs on top line up. Push the seat straight down to latch it. Remember to install the 4 bolts below and tighten them by hand. Slide the seat cushion toward the back of the car, then push the front of it down. 2 more bolts hold the cushion in place. Don't forget to install the bolt covers. Always start the lug nuts by hand. It's okay to use a drill to snug them down, but don't use the air impact wrench. I'll torque the lug nuts later. Shake the wheel side to side and up and down. If anything is loose, it will need to be fixed before the car gets in alignment. The rear suspension is tight, so let's move on to the front of the car. It's good up and down, but the steering wheel turns if you move the wheel to the side. Turn the wheel until it locks and check for play other than the steering wheel lock. Everything felt tight here too, so that means I can take the car off the jack stands. You can reach under the car, but don't climb under it when it's on the jack. Torque all the lug nuts to 76 foot-pounds in a star pattern. I usually check them all twice. Okay, the lift is installed, but the wheels are all at the wrong angles. So the next step is taking it to the shop for an alignment. During the alignment, the shop will adjust the front and rear, camber, and toe. These angles must be correct in order for the car to handle properly and so the tires don't wear out too fast. The new suspension is stiffer than before, but it feels good. And I can plow through speed bumps and dips in the road without any worries. Let's do the parking lot test again. This time I have a lot more ground clearance. Here's a before and after shot so you can see the difference. Oh, and I also installed a Rallytech aluminum skid plate. I made a video about that too. Let's measure that ride height. Here we have 28¼ inches and it's 27¾ back here. And on this side we have 28 inches up front and 27½ in the back. And this car is a little uneven, and as you can see, it's been crashed a couple times, so the unibody might be a little bit bent. Now I could make some strut spacers and level this car out, but it's already been aligned and it drives fine, so I'm not going to worry about it. The ground clearance to the exhaust was 5½ inches before, and it's 7 inches now. The ladies will have a lot more fun with that. Replacing the struts in this car is pretty easy, and if you're doing struts, you might as well get the lift springs to increase the ground clearance and make this car more useful in different road conditions. Now if your car is rusty, you should buy complete loaded struts that include springs and strut mounts, then swap the lift springs into them so you don't end up paying $80 each for just strut mounts. That's all I have for now, and I'll see you guys in the next video.